Hey, Yetta, how happy can a guy get to be?
As happy as he is thankful.
Moving forward with the Decker team. Moving forward together with the Decker team.
And we are thankful that we've created for you free access to over 587 Life's Inside Track episodes where we share insider tips, making house home, how to get the most out of your space. And the great news is you get access to them from home, from the office, or on the go. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, get on it. It's time to make it happen. And so what we're going to explore this time is when we're grateful. Even in the midst of challenges, even in the midst of difficulty, actually possibilities open up that we couldn't otherwise access.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we can be grateful. We can be ungrateful, right? And then that kind of forces the negativity up. It bubbles up like crude oil. Bloop, 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 bloop. Negativity is just gross. So talk to me about, Julie, when something negative happened on this dream home, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On the perfect place.
Yep.
And then it didn't stay perfect indefinitely.
Yeah. Well, as we talked about in the last segment, I had just purchased what was the perfect home for me and my kids at this stage in our life. And actually just a couple of months ago, so we've been there for about a year and a half. My son came up to me one morning and he said, "Mom, there's water in the basement." And I thought, oh my.
Oh,
yeah.
And you didn't buy a house with an indoor pool.
No, there was no indoor pool. That would have been lovely, but not this kind of indoor pool. And so at the end of the day, I had foundation issues and I called in a company to come and give me a bit of an estimate. And it was a big estimate. And I was like, oof, gulp. And I started to allow myself to feel a little bit of panic, a little bit of overwhelm about the fact that one, I had this foundation issue and, you know, as a single mom and living on my own with my kids, it's kind of like, oh gosh, what do I do now? And so I decided to stop and ask for help, which was a neat concept because I was overwhelmed by that.
Let me talk to you about that. How long did you let the negative voice, like were you beating yourself up? Was there something you were saying about, oh, I should never have done this, or what was going on in your mindset at the time?
Actually, I love that question because as I reflect on it, not once did I say, oh my God, this house, I should never have bought this house. If anything, I was like, I know this is the right house for us. It's perfect for what we need. And when we first put the offer in the house, the curb appeal outside was not what I wanted it to be, but I knew there was potential for it. And so my goal this year was to have redone the gardens out front. I'm not very good at keeping plants alive, so I was going to make them very simple. And that was my task for the summer.
Works.
Yes. Well, don't encourage me, Ken. Don't encourage me. And so all of a sudden that plan changed. And the flowers are no longer there because I really had to rip up the front yard. But at the end of the day, I saw it as an opportunity, not as a challenge, not as a problem. It was an opportunity to improve the curb appeal of my house. And I know at the end of the day, when I made the offer, I wasn't prepared to spend more than I knew the house was worth or what it would be worth in the future when I might be ready to sell it down the road. And curb appeal is always something that's important. And so I saw this as an opportunity for an investment into my home to improve the curb appeal. And I'm working on putting in a beautiful new deck, redoing the front yard, and just having a place that when I pull into the driveway, I'm like, yeah, this is my place.
So your foundation issue was in the front?
It was in the front.
Not in the back?
Not in the back.
Which was already okay?
It was already great. Yep. It was great.
And so I want you to listen and sort of tune into the thought here because Jules could have spent, and maybe you like me on occasion have gone down the dark path, gone down the hard path and questioned your decision. So if she hadn't sat in gratitude for having found the right place, but rather let that other voice take over, it would have been a very different conversation, right? It would have been a conversation of what on earth was I doing? What was I thinking? This was really beyond my means anyway. Whatever thought that comes up for you. So just recognize it's actually a choice to whether we choose to sit in gratitude, even in the difficulty, even in the tough stuff. Do we stay there or do we really let our imagination run amok in a negative way?
Yeah, because you might sit there and go, okay, I don't have the money for a big, expensive repair. And I can't leave it because moisture in the basement creates mold, and then the whole house is not going to be livable.
Yeah.
Right. And then worthless, basically.
Yeah. So you got to protect your assets. So then you go into problem solving mode, right?
Yeah.
Now, Yetta, you read a book recently about looking for the silver lining, or what's this good for? And I love that's what you said, Julie, is you said, well, I wanted to change the front curb appeal anyways. Now I'm ripping everything out.
I've just expedited the timeline.
I get to start from fresh because there's a big gaping hole where they dug up the whole front of the yard.
I had no front yard. I had no front yard. I, was able to expand the parking area in the front. Not quite finished yet, but we'll have an expanded parking area in the front. I'll have a beautiful deck across the whole front of the house. And it was thanks to my community because I wasn't afraid to ask for help I've got amazing neighbors, and between my son and his friends and our neighbors, they came, did the work for me. And it was a fraction, like less than a quarter of the cost of what I was originally quoted. And I've got this beautiful home, a great community of people that I can, come together with and just now celebrate the new patio that I have and enjoy the beautiful weather we're having.
That's so good.
That's so powerful, because many times I know I don't want to ask for help. I don't want to go to my neighbor and say, hey, can you help me do this or something? I got this independent muscle that's overworked and it actually separates me from my community. I remember a friend of mine, once I was doing something and I told him afterward, like I'd worked all day to get this thing done. And he said, well, as a friend, I'm offended that you didn't call me because we didn't have the time. We didn't have the opportunity to work shoulder to shoulder together. And I would have loved to have done that. And that builds that community, right?
I literally, I've never done this before, but I've gotten to know my neighbors quite well. And I reached out to one of them and I sent a text and I said, I am not one who is comfortable asking for help. I always, struggle with that. And I said, but I'm asking you for help. I have a problem. I've received, a quote that feels like a lot and overwhelming for me. What can I do? And next thing I know, he rallied everybody in the community, including my son, who'd never done anything like this before. So it was a great learning opportunity for him to figure out, how to deal with foundation issues. And he's been working on digging holes with post hole diggers and sauna tubes and cement and all of that fun stuff. And so again, if I hadn't have been vulnerable, asked for help, I would not be where I'm at right now dealing with what I am. And I'm truly grateful for my foundation leaking.
Which is amazing. And if you hadn't asked yourself, what's it good for?
Yeah.
And sometimes in the midst, we can't do it. Like in the midst of the ick, it's hard to say, what's this good for? Often it's in arrears, but I love that you were able to get to what's this good for and how can I move it? Because that's where possibilities come from.
Yep.
There are no possibilities otherwise.
So we want to invite you to be part of our community here at the Decker Team. And all you have to do is send an email to us at together@deckerteam.com and just say, I want to be part of your community. And we will reach out to you. Now, Julie, you got a little quote here for us.
Yeah. At the end of the day, without gratitude, a home is just a house, 4 walls.
Yeah. So together, we are sharing options so that wisdom will flow for you.
Moving forward with the Decker Team. Moving forward.